welcome back to Forza Horizon 4. We have, well, after a very, very long time, I've kind of been procrastinating a little bit, I won't be honest, but we have our hill climb series. I've been waiting first for Fortune Island, their hill climb road, and then I waited because I was A, busy, and B, I just had other things to do. And we start off with vehicles that are so slow, they can't even complete the course in the time it takes me to upload this video. That, of course, being the Peel Trident and the Morris Traveler. Both these vehicles are D-Class. The Trident here has 4 horsepower and 6 torque. Woo! So, as you can see, it is not exactly speedy at 22 miles an hour up the hill. 23, my apologies, 23. But yeah, those two vehicles were painfully slow. So the next vehicle is going to be quite a bit of a jump in speed. And that is proven with our first vehicle. I'm only going to be doing the Fortune Island vehicles in this video. We will have, of course, later on the December cars and the January cars and so on and so forth. But we start off with the Ram Rebel T-Rex, which had a lot of potential. It's a rival to the Ford Raptor, and is a pretty good rival at that. It's very good. I like it a lot. However, they had a missed opportunity. They could have put a 707 horsepower Hellcat engine in it, but for whatever reason, they detuned the Hellcat engine, so it makes just 570 horsepower. I don't know why you would detune such an engine in this vehicle. I think it'll be fun with 700 horsepower. I mean, they did it with a bloody Jeep, so I don't know why they wouldn't do it in a more normal pickup truck. But, I mean, yes, it does have 570 horsepower, but it also weighs over 2 tons, meaning it's not exactly speedy up here. I mean, it's not bad. It's one of the faster pickup trucks, one of the fastest off-roaders we've had around here. I did already run all of the other car pass cars. I did one representative from James Bond, and I did one representative from Formula Drift. And a side note, the Formula Drift car was actually drifting up here, just because I can't not drift a Formula Drift car up this hill. It's just a requirement, pretty much. Anyway, back to the T-Rex. It's good, it's just a bit heavy, which means it doesn't turn very well. The brakes are surprisingly decent, but the turning aspect is slightly lacking. It is slightly lacking, but all in all, it's able to get up the course in a relatively decent manner. I start off at the 1 minute mark as you saw earlier, so take a minute off of the time as we head around the final hairpin, and we go across the line. We go from one off-roader to another off-roader with the Exocet off-roader. This thing is basically an off-road go-kart. Remember the Exocet XP 5 from Motorsport 7? Well, it turns out it has an off-road cousin. It doesn't have the same 500 horsepower engine, but it does have 300 horsepower. And on a vehicle, I say car, it's more a chassis with wheels. That is a very lightweight vehicle with a decent amount of power. It's actually very fun. I like this car a lot. And it is let down a little bit by tires and traction, as you can see there. It's not designed for this. It's designed to be off-road orientated. So there's tiny tires to go through to slide through the thick sand to get some grip, which means on tarmac where you don't slide through the sand, you don't get any grip. And since it's 300 horsepower and approximately 0 weight over the rear, you just kind of spin them. You just spin the wheels up, you lose traction. It's not ideal. Also, suspension is a little too soft for this hill climb. Again, as you would expect, it is a off-road oriented buggy after all. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's brilliant. About the same as you would think for an aerial Nomad. I think this costs less than the Nomad. I'm actually not sure. But it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, See CS is a little too oversteered for my taste, a little too unpredictable, I should say. But I managed to head around the final corner, and then we just have to run to the line and across the line. Next up, we have another, this is a four-door sedan. It's a new one, the BMW M5. First all-wheel drive BMW M5 ever made. 600 horsepower. It doesn't look bad. It looks similar to the 2012 version, but I mean, it's not a bad looking car, never was. However, I didn't like it. I thought I had a little too much understeer, wasn't as consistent as I was hoping for a German, British, whatever you want to call it, German BMW. I thought it'd be a little better than that. It was not. You see, I'm just struggling to find the speed in it, really. I'm sure you could get around the corners faster than me, obviously, but it just wasn't to my driving style. So, plus, it wasn't as impressive as I thought it would. In real life, it's very impressive, but in the game, it was a little underwhelming, I will be honest. I much prefer the 2012 version with the rear-wheel drive, which gave it many slides and many funs. This one, you can slide around, it's not too difficult, but it's just not the same. I mean, I don't know, I can't explain it. I love it, it's brilliant. It's just not the same thing. You see I'm sliding there, not intentionally either. It doesn't have as much grip as I thought it would have. It's still 2 tons. And it's just not as good to the corners as I was expecting from a M Division car. But, I mean, overall did a decent time as we head around the final corner now. One more to go. You can see this is struggle going on the corners before catapulting itself across the line. Up next is the craziest vehicle by far in the entire pack, the Funko F9. This is a dune buggy, officially known as a sandrail. It's rear-wheel drive, and based on the speeds, has a fair amount of power, as in 1,750 horsepower. In a buggy, it's ridiculous, it has 1,200 torque. And it's all going through a very soft suspension sandrail buggy. That is the most mental, crazy contraption I've ever seen. I love it. It is amazing. And considering it's got more power than every single car in the game except for the Iron Knight, and it's got ultra soft suspension, which makes it tripod everywhere, I think it did a pretty good job around here. It was the definition of a point-and-squirt car, because you stumble on the throttle, you go very, very quickly, and then you panic and fling around in the brakes in the corners. It is a workout to drive, but I absolutely love it. It is a brilliant, brilliant machine. And I welcome it. I think it is an absolutely fantastic vehicle in Forza. It is just what Forza needed, is its type of crazy. I love it. The wing is even better, although it's not standard on the car, so therefore I shall not put it on. As per rules, all vehicles must be stock in this game, unless specifically asked otherwise. And we go and we slam on the brakes in the final corner, we go so much faster than everybody else, we have to go so slow down the corner. One more to go and across the line! This is a new SUV. Up next, the Lamborghini Urus. We had the Lamborghini Urus since Horizon 2, but that's been the concept. This is the full-on production vehicle, meaning it's a bit more powerful, and it handles a bit better. But it is one of the better looking SUVs. I still prefer the Stelvio, in all honesty. This just looks weird. It has a coupe back, like the X6M, but it's got a supercar V8 in the hood. I don't understand the point of these ultra-fast, high-end SUVs. I think they're stupid. And and I really hope they go out of style real fast, but that doesn't seem the case, annoyingly. Anyway, it is the fastest SUV in the world. 0 to 60 takes less than 3.5 seconds, has over 550 horsepower. It is very quick for what it is, even if it does weigh over 2 tons. It's a big thing. Now, granted, it's not the first time Lamborghini's dabbled in four-wheel drive off-road SUVs, but it is their most successful attempt. I've seen the LMO02, and I do prefer the look of it, I'll be honest. I like the big brutalness of that, but I also like the fact that this actually works on a day-to-day basis and is not, you know, well, an armored vehicle on steroids. So, do I like the Urus? Do I think it's an incredible marvel that it works? Yes. Do I think every car manufacturer should make a stupid SUV that's not practical for anybody in any way, shape, or form? Absolutely not. They're ridiculous, they're hideous, and frankly they're a bit dull, but this thing is just about the exception as we go across the line. This is my favorite car of the pack. The buggy was my favorite vehicle. This is my favorite car. The Saleen S5 Raptor concept. It was last seen in Horizon 1 as a unicorn car, and this thing rips. It doesn't have the crazy supercharger whine as in Forza 4, but I don't care. It's I think it looks decent. Not the best looking car, but it still looks pretty decent. It's very fast for an S1 class car. I love how it handles. It's right on the edge of too slidey to be good, but still slidey enough to be able to be corrected easily. It's so easy to slide this car around and still correct it. For being a mid-engine car, it's phenomenal. And when it is 2000, I think it was like 2010 this vehicle was made, and then they never did anything with it, and it's such a shame, because it's a brilliant car. It really is. All we need more is the, ME412 from Chrysler, and we will have the concept car trifecta of pure brilliance, because, yeah, I love this thing. Is it the fastest car? No, we will see many faster ones, to come, and I will admit, the back end is hideous. I like the front, I like the sides, but the back is a little weird. And it does lose that iconic supercharger noise that everybody loved. But it's still a brilliantly handling car, and isn't that the most important thing of a car? I mean, handling? If you can't handle, you might as well just stop making cars. But it's a perfect car in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it. And it goes across the line. And this is our second fastest car of the day, the Koenigsegg See CS. This absolute monster was the first car Koenigsegg put into mass production. I say mass production, for Koenigsegg anyway. And it was the most powerful production car in the world and the fastest production car in the world until the Bugatti Veyron came along. It's interesting because we have the Regera, we have the Regera RS, we have the 1-to-1, we have the Regera, and now we have this. It's very interesting to see how Koenigsegg has evolved over time from this still brutal but fairly simplistic supercar to their absolute world-conquering monsters that we see nowadays. And don't forget, this is a car that the Stig famously crashed because he lost control of it. It's not as bad in the game as it is in real life around high-speed corners. Admittedly, this track is very low-speed technical, so we'll probably see more aerodynamic cars, like if there was a Lotus or something going on here, it'll probably be very quick. But, I mean, it's still not as terrifying as one would expect an early Koenigsegg to be around these very twisty corners. This one was a little bit sketchy here, but it wasn't unbearable. I almost missed a checkpoint, but I wasn't in fear of my life. Yeah, solid car for a very solid company, and a heck of a way to kick off a future legacy of high-performance vehicles. And across the line. Remember how I said the Koenigsegg was the second fastest car of the day. I lied. I'm sorry. This is the second fastest car of the day, the legendary one-off special of the Aventador J. It's basically an Aventador with the roof cut off and a big wing stuck on the back. Again, this was last seen in, what, Forza Motorsport 4? Maybe Horizon 1? So, I know people are complaining, oh, these aren't new cars. I like it. I like the fact that these are finally back in the game. I never drove the S5S or the Aventador J before because I never got DLC back then, unless it was free. But, I mean, it's an Aventador. It's a bit heavier than the Aventador because they had to have support for the roof in order to make it road legal. But, yeah, I like it. It's never been my favorite Aventador. My all-time favorite Aventador will always be the SV. I don't like the SVJ's looks. I don't mind the looks of this. It's unique, but I just don't like it without roof. I'm not a big no windshield guy. I'm not a big fan of that. But you know, I mean, it is still a 700 horsepower all-wheel drive Italian supercar with a 6.5 liter V12, and I mean that can just brighten up any day, really. Having had the pleasure to hear an actual Aventador engine, I can still remember its sound to this day, and it's been half a year ago. So, this may not be my favorite looking car, but this Aventador sure knows how to make a party. This is the fastest car of the day, a hatchback. Not just any hatchback, though, the Ford Fiesta RTX 43 something, driven by Ken Block in Gymkhana 8. Frankly, I don't really see the point of this car being in the game. We already have a Global Rallycross Fiesta, which this is the exact same thing pretty much, but with a really cool livery. So, do I always like a good Rallycross car? Yeah. Do I think this car was necessary? No. It was the only car in the pack that I wish could be swapped out for something a bit better, because we already have the exact same car with a different paint job. So it's a duplicate pretty much, and I don't like duplicates in games particularly. That was my praise of Forza 7 for getting rid of most of their duplicate cars and just having one with multiple paint jobs. But yeah, I mean, this track suits rallycross cars. It's just a fact. Short acceleration zones, lots of slow turns, which allows the all-wheel drive, 600 horsepower, lightweight, incredibly high downforce cars stand a chance. And it lets them go very, very quickly, because they can accelerate from 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. Fastest cars in the world for acceleration. So, they are mental contraptions. I love it. And there's never really a straightaway, like a long enough straightaway for these vehicles, like, gearing to be negatively affected. Like, they rarely get into 6th gear, these rallycross cars. So they are bloody fast up here, as you can see by the time. And the fact that we're already going around the final corner, and, well, heading across the line with a bit of a slide. Yes, the fastest car of the day is a hatchback, with a, 133.7, putting the Fiesta third overall. Being only 3 seconds slower than a FXX is not that bad. Fourth place, though, is almost as impressive, with the Aventador J being only a second slower. Pretty good for a road car. The most impressive one by far, though, is the Koenigsegg CC8S, because it is by far the oldest car in the top 10, with a 136.9, putting it in 7th place. Amusingly, it's only a second and a half slower than the Koenigsegg RS, which is 6th place. That is called unable to use its power. 9th place goes to the squeaking in Saleen S5 Raptor, doing a 137. The Urus gets 16th with a 143.4. Pretty good considering it beat the Aston Martin Vantage. The M5 is a bit of a disappointment, being slower than the F9, which is right in front of it, doing a for 20144 dead, respectively. The Exocet is the second fastest off-roader with a 147.0, and the T-Rex is a little bit further down to a 151.5. Then we get to the D-Class cars. The Morris in a 3-minute and 40-second run. That was torture, but not as torturous as the Peel. With its 4-horsepower engine, it was able to do a time of 3 minutes, 58 seconds. Yes, it wasn't quite 4 minutes, but it was within 2 seconds of it. I thought it would get 4 minutes, but it just eked it in the 3:58. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting series, this one. We will probably see the high-powered hypercars, like the Agera, be relatively high up on the table, but not as tall. You're going to see the FXXK type, the rallycross cars, the drift vehicles be relatively high up on the table just because of those short acceleration zones. So, yeah. I think this is going to be a really interesting series, but that is going to be it for this episode of Forza Horizon 4. I'll be back with more